May 20th, 2019, Town of Manchester Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Just as a note for those in attendance, tonight's meeting is being held a day early due to town elections. For your schedule, please note that the next meeting will be on its regular time and date, Tuesday, June 18th, 2019, at 7:30 p.m., pending items to take care of.
Excuse me, one
Yes,
minute.
ma'am.
Can everyone make sure that their microphones are on? Button up. Thanks.
Should I say, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Better.
Okay. So just as, again, a repeat, now that the microphones are on, I apologize. Tonight's meeting is being held a day early due to town elections tomorrow. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 18th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m., pending items to adjudicate. First item on the order tonight is approval of the March 13th, 2019 minutes. Everyone should have a copy of those. Just as a note to my commission members, there is on pages 2 and 3 the issues we had to deal with, the number 1 North planning issues.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second to approve the minutes as written. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved. Reports. Michelle.
Steve and I had met with Dr. Sobel from Premier Dental. He had approached us about, he's purchasing the property where they are now, they currently rent, and would like to do some expansion in the future. So he kind of met with us to see where he could go and what he needed to do there. Number 1 North, as you can see, is continuing. We've had 2 requests received in the office for annexations, one being Mr. Hill's property on Route 30, and the other one being Patriots Overlook, the development at the end of Brome Court and off of Park Avenue. They have not been presented to the council at this time, not yet. And Sheets is progressing, but Steve might have more on that, I don't.
Yeah.
Michelle, could you speak up?
Okay, sorry. My mic's on. The Sheets project, though, I don't have any progress on that, so.
Okay.
The Sheets project, I'd estimate that to be probably in the neighborhood of 20%. They're moving right along. I think the idea is to get that area out front. The underground storage tanks have been installed. The infiltration basins for the stormwater management's been installed. I think it's their goal is to get that area in the front flattened out so they have some room to move around in there. The slabs have been poured for the store in the back. The rear wall has started. That's probably 50% complete, so they're moving right along. So, okay.
Very good. Steve, you have anything else you want to add?
I do. Something I want the commission to keep on their radar is, I talked a little bit to the mayor and the council last week at our monthly meeting. MDE is starting to release some of the monies for the Bay restoration funds that we've been paying into for a number of years. It appears that the larger plants are either in the process of being completed or have already been completed, so they're working their way down through the smaller wastewater treatment plants. And what they're looking at doing is funding to move ahead with enhanced nutrient removal, or ENR. The town wants to be on the bandwagon. We did put an RFQ out, request for qualifications, to engineering firms a few months ago. We received 11 back. We have a team of our own staff members that are reviewing those qualifications, and we're going to be shortlisting that to 5. Something that, again, I want you folks to think about. This is going to be a work group session between your group and the mayor and council, because this funding is only for ENR upgrade only, not expansion. So at that point in time, any expansion or anything that has to do with the upgrade to the plant that's not related to ENR has to be paid for by the town. Now, that opens up a can of worms, because for 9 months out of the year, we spray irrigate. So we need those nutrients on the farmland that we spray on for 9 months. Once you get this process moving, You cannot shut that process off for 9 months and then start it up for 3 months out of the year. Once it's started, it's started. That may be a battle that we're going to have with MDE. I've already mentioned that I could completely, or the town could completely come out of the stream. We could completely reduce the loading rate to 0 going into George's Run if you would allow us to do possibly deep well insertion of the effluent in the wintertime months, possibly irrigation through deep trenches through the wintertime months. So there's a lot of options we have. But to get that funding, it's geared toward ENR. So, you know, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. I think that's going to be tough for our staff to convince our engineering firms that, you know, we have a lot of options out there. So just keep it on your radar, because you'll be hearing from us probably over the next 6 to 8 months.
Anything else, Steve?
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Michelle. Thank you. Dale, anything from the council?
Yeah, we did have our meeting last week, and I guess a highlight of the meeting was the approval of the 2020 budget. And then just a few highlights from that. We were able to, again, maintain their current tax rate, so no increase there. But we did have very slight increases in our water and sewer unit fees. Again, very, very minor. Other than that, as Chairman mentioned, we have election tomorrow evening. We'll be electing the mayor and 2 council positions. So please come out. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Bryce?
Good evening. We got 3 quick things from the county. The first you'll see in your packets is the chapter pertaining to Manchester and annual report. That is for y'all to look over, and then I guess confirm, adopt that everything looks good, and have a letter signed off, and that'll be the last piece of our annual report that the county does for all the towns, as well as, of course, the county itself. Third, the trailer update has been submitted to MDE. They accepted it. They are now in the process, their 90-day review. And we have not heard anything from MDE pertaining to major issues or questions. Again, until we get the final letter back from them, we're still under the 2014 triennial update when it comes to water and sewer for the town. And then lastly, the county's not hosting it, but the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board, or BRTB, will be having a meeting on Thursday, June 6th at the Carroll County Government Center pertaining to their Maximize 2045, which is a performance-based transportation plan. And this is sort of for long, the next 30 years, long-range goals of all the transportation aspects that are going on in and around the region. And again, we're holding a meeting at the county. The county is not actually based, it's not part of the county aspect of things. But so if we have some flyers here, I'll let Michelle have that. Hopefully people can come by. If they want to have any questions, they can at least pick one of those up and get a little bit more information. There's a website you can go to. But again, that's on Thursday, June 6th at 6 to 8:30 down in the Reagan Room of the government building. Any other questions, anything?
Gentlemen, anything for Bryce?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right, moving on. Next item on the list.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry?
We need to just take a vote that you approve that portion of the
right.
annual
Oh,
plan.
sorry, my bad.
You're in a hurry. You want to get out of
Just,
here?
I'm moving along.
Yeah,
See the sunshine and no rain, and you just want to get moving, that's all.
okay. So we just need a motion to approve the,
Make a motion to approve the county's triennial plan,
it's the 2018 annual,
2018 annual report.
yep.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion on the floor to approve the 2018 plan. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, done. Thank you, Michelle. All right, Next item on the agenda is the Buena Vista Estates amended plot approval.
Yes, that has been through development review, and they have, of course, referred it to the town of Manchester. It's two neighbors on Burt Fowler Road, 2702, 2700, who just wanted to change the lot line between the two lots, so that one was getting ready, they want to do some kind of expansion and needed more setback area. So this is just an approval of the plan so that we can sign the Mylars when they show up and they can move on.
How much area was impacted by the property line
You
change?
can see on the paper that I
Oh, yeah,
gave
okay,
you,
I can see it ghosted in
it
under
wasn't
there.
very much. It was like it went to a point and they kind of just straightened it out.
Yeah, I see it there, where it come up
Yeah.
along the driveway there.
Yep.
Okay.
And we have both property owners agreeing to this.
Yes, they've already done their agreement, yes.
And I assume because it was such a small transfer of property, it didn't give anybody any increased development rights as a result of
No,
the, okay,
no.
just want to make sure.
So Lot 1B is is the residence that's receiving more property per se, and they're the ones that'll,
Yep,
okay.
yes.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve the re-subdivision.
I second that motion.
okay. Motion's on the floor to approve the redivision of the Buena Vista Estates lots 1B and 2B. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. All right. All right, Mr. DeMario, I believe you have something for us for the Burwager property. Thank you.
You're going to see this in the PowerPoint, but it might be a little easier to see close up.
Thank you.
So I won't cover the background to the project. We really have two main issues that we'd like to talk to you about tonight. The first and most important is the setbacks. So what you're seeing in the background on the PowerPoint is the Chesapeake unit that Bob Ward builds. This is their largest unit. It's the standard unit's 56 wide, and it has two bump outs, so it comes out to be a total of 60 feet wide. So, a second. This is the rear of the same unit. Now, the depth varies a little bit. In this view, this is the sunroom. They also have a sitting room that's not quite as extensive. So when you measure this particular unit from the front all the way to the back of the sunroom, it turns out to be 58 feet, and that includes an optional 2-foot bump out. So this is the very largest unit they sell. We've got 31 proposed lots. For certain, we're not going to have 31 Chesapeake units there, but what the plan that you see in front of you is as if that were to occur, what variances would we need to request from the town? And I think there was some discussion the last time we were here about, trying to minimize that, and I think we came up with a better plan. So this is the plan that you have in front of you. So what I should back up a little bit. So this is the layout of the Chesapeake unit. So what you see in the diagram is the house footprint itself in its largest configuration, and you also see the minimum 600 square foot driveway. So we're showing a 20 by 30 foot driveway. So then when we look at the plans and the particular lots, we show where the setbacks would be, assuming we have the 35 is reduced to 30 in the front in all places. And I think the discussion last time was generally that was supported, as provided that we had the 600 square foot of driveway spacing. So then the rest of the setbacks are shown correctly, or shown as per code, which is 12 feet for the side yards and 40 feet for the rear yard. So you can see the little tags where the sunroom or one of the bump outs for the wider units actually cross over the property line. So, for example, if you look, my red dot doesn't show up on the screen, does it? Does it show up on that one? Yeah, it does. Maybe I go over that way then. Okay, for example, you see these units along here, we have an issue with the side yards. So we're asking for the side yard to be reduced to 10 feet, which is the minimum. And again, this is only if those units require them. So it would be just this stick. Now, this is 2 of the units are going to be facing High Street, and these other 4 units would be turned to the interior. So what you saw last time, we didn't really honor, the last iteration, I didn't honor the corner setbacks on these lots. So we've changed the configuration a little bit to give those corner lots. Now, so the other issue that you see is in the sunroom, you see just a little bit over here, more so in this interior group. So the table gives you what we would need for the variance to be set back to. And probably our worst lot is lot, I think that's 16. All of the lots meet the minimum width of 80 feet. All of them are at least 10,000 square feet. And that's pretty much it. So the question is this, would this be an acceptable variance request?
Well, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Lots 5 through 10, what's your hardship? What's the hardship that requires the variance? You want to reduce the side yards by 2 feet, and I understand that, but that's to put the biggest product in.
Correct.
Is it our responsibility to ensure that the developer can put the biggest product in so that we have to grant a variance to make that happen? If you had one less lot there, for example, you don't have a side yard issue at all. You got 30 lots and you have no side yard setback variance. Because, there's an old saying that you can only put 5 pounds of manure in a 5-pound bag. And I just have a problem with a hardship argument where I don't see the hardship. I mean, you could put a slightly smaller unit there, you get your 6 lots. Or you can reduce a lot and you get your side yard. Because for a variance standard, it's very clear, you have to demonstrate that there's some sort of a hardship that deprives you of reasonable use of this property, and I'm not seeing that with the side yards. We talked about the front yards, and I understand that.
Right.
I don't necessarily have an issue with that, but those side yard variances, I do. And I'm just trying to understand what the hardship is.
Well, I can't say per se that there's a hardship in that we have alternatives in smaller or less wide units. So the Chesapeake unit, standard units would fit. It would be more of when the homeowner or the potential buyer desired to have the bump out. That's not necessarily a hardship. It's a request of the ultimate purchaser.
Right, I understand that. But as a variance, we have to look at the project and show, the applicant has to demonstrate that there's a hardship that makes it unreasonable for him to develop the property without the granting of the variance. I mean, that's the standard. That's a standard of a variance. And I'm just trying to figure out what that hardship necessarily is. It seems like it's a hardship of convenience because your developer wants a certain product on these lots. So instead of sizing the lots to fit the home, he's asking us to reduce the lots so he can get an additional house.
Right, and I think part of the concern too is that it's the type of unit. So if I go back, this is the single level type of unit, which is really a market-driven thing. And again, I'm not saying that's a hardship because this is a product that people are desiring. So to get that type of product that the market desires.
Right, and with 30 lots, you'd have no side yard setback variance.
Correct. We
That's
perhaps,
the point.
yeah,
You're asking us to accommodate the development when there's obviously an alternative that meets the requirement without the variance for those side yards.
and I think that maybe as we develop further, maybe I can see if, where road B comes in here, perhaps I can angle it down a little bit. I really was trying to keep Road B and High Street at a 90-degree angle,
understood.
but perhaps if I.
Yeah, I would take a look at that. I can't speak for the rest of the commission.
Right.
They have their own opinions, but
But I could.
I struggle with variances when I don't see a hardship
Right.
as a basis for the variance.
So if I relax the design standard of a 90-degree, and I could go to, again, these are low-speed roads, so making that angle even
Right.
80, 75 degrees is probably not a traffic concern. It might get me another
Yeah, it
couple
would
of
be
feet.
helpful to see some alternative design there.
Right.
My only addition to what Henry's saying is, if I heard you right earlier, the house is 30 feet deep after the garage, so your difference in your house is 120 square feet, because you're asking for a four-foot variance, so you take 4 foot off the house at 30 feet, you're only losing 120 square feet on a house.
So the unit's 58 feet deep, so 4 feet would be more like 232 feet, but it's still,
58 by what?
it's 60 feet wide by 58 deep, but not the whole house is
Oh,
58 deep.
yeah, so, yeah, no, I'm
Right,
saying just
so-
that one little portion that's the problem. So you're 58
Yeah.
deep on the sunroom,
Right.
but that
so-
other, you might, minus 12, so you're
So I'm about
probably.
46 deep on the base unit.
Yeah, you're less than, so that's 56, so you're only maybe four, I mean, at most you're losing 130 square feet.
Right.
On a 1,600 square foot house.
I'd say this in a bigger context, Rich. I know we don't have a lot to build out in town, but just a blanket variance prior to the development as we go into it. It's my opinion that variances are used for people who have a deck that they're putting on, so maybe some small minor improvements. This is asking for a carte blanche, the way I perceive it, is a carte blanche approval. May happen, may not happen, but again, just like Henry said, you want us to give you okay, go ahead and just in case. I don't think that's appropriate for this. I
Right.
think you bring us the plan, we give you feedback, such as Henry did, and maybe you need to cut a lot out, because I think you run into the same problem with lots 20, 21, and 22. You're gonna ask the rear yard setback, and, so you're looking for 10 feet, 11 feet, and 4 feet respectively with each one of those properties. I just think it sets a bad
Okay.
position as
Yeah.
we have other folks who want to build. And, is it wrong to assume that that builder wants to come in and say, hey, I need a setback to make something work for a bigger house? We should just start handing them out.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay.
of the 31 lots on this plan, you're asking for 19 variances. I mean, that's 60% of the lots you want a variance on.
Actually,
15.
technically, they're asking for a variance on every lot because they're reducing the front to 30.
Correct. Right. We are
But
asking.
putting that aside, because
Putting that
we discussed that.
we
Yeah.
previously.
We were okay with that part of the
The
equation.
sides and the rears total 19 lots, 13 rears and 6 sides. I have to agree with the other commissioners here. It's not a blanket, come in and create your own zoning book for this property. Obviously, there's multiple models within the portfolio, and you're presenting us with, as I understand it, the largest combination of possible potential options on the largest footprint that you have.
Correct.
I mean,
By far the worst case.
you've heard a variety of comments over the evolution of this plan. We've been extremely consistent the whole way through, and it may be that in the siting matrix that, Lot 3, this house with those options is just not a possibility.
Right. Okay.
Or you have to come back and go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, who will hear it initially, and then they'll send it back to us, and it'll go back to the Board of Appeals. But, so.
The idea is to avoid all that upfront.
And that's a fair comment. The reason we brought it in the last two iterations, we were working it. When we left off the last time, I felt like where the board was, that you wanted to see a plan that's been massaged a little bit more. And we have vastly reduced the number that we thought we would need, but we can we can push a little harder and see. And then if we only have a handful left, then maybe the option is to exclude the Chesapeake, or at least some of the options from being constructed on, you know, maybe they only can have a sitting room instead of a sunroom. You know, those are very real possibilities. Obviously, from a market perspective, they'd like to have everything in all the baskets. So do you have anything you want to add on any of that?
Well, I understand the setbacks. So with where we're at this evening, that the front setback, I don't think we ever got anything that we can use the 30-foot, because when we start laying the plan out, doing all the stormwater and all that, is when the significant funds start going in for engineering and all. So if we could get the front locked in at 30, then that would give us the tools we need to take the plan through and do a matrix on other houses that would fit on the lots without requesting a variance. So I was trying to get to a point that, okay, this is where we're at, these are our setbacks, then let's move the plan forward. So if we could get the 30-foot approved, then that is our benchmark to design the plan.
Again, that's asking for 31 variances, carte blanche, just to assist you with that plan. I know we had discussed and some people were happy with it, but in the context of things, I don't know.
What is it now? I can't remember what it is now. 30,
The requirement?
yeah.
35.
It's
35.
35.
35 is a requirement.
35 is the requirement, plus 600 square feet for parking pad in front, which we've used 20 by 30. I'm not sure if there's dimensions in the code, but I know there's 600 square feet is in the code for certain. And actually, to do that parking space of 20 by 30, effectively, the setback, you can't be any less than 30 feet.
So if I'm reading this right, gentlemen, if we don't grant the 5 feet, he has 31 of them that has a back issue, or
A front, be a front
I think
setback.
there's
All
only-
of these would have to push
these-
back.
these-
All these have to push back. I mean,
but every other
that guy
one
would
has
be
a
fine.
back issue.
This guy would be fine. These guys would be fine.
Oh, 6, yeah.
That guy would be fine. This would be fine. Yeah, I mean, it's 20-some.
It's probably about 7 units that would still be fine without the 30-foot setback.
8 of the 31. Right now, we're looking at application. Yeah, he would push over. He would be fine.
Any other discussion, gentlemen?
Well, Rob's still talking, but as far as stormwater management, Rich, is everything going to be coming towards Park Avenue, or are you going to be able to, or are you going to have some, like, infiltration trenches or something on the back of the units on High Street?
So we had met with county staff, and the concept for stormwater management is to use dry wells for the
Okay.
rooftops, and then we would be treating the driveways and the public road with probably bioretention or some type of infiltration.
Up in that front area?
Up in that front area. That's the low point at Park Avenue.
Okay.
And we would also, as part of that stormwater, make some improvements to the storm drain system at the low point.
And actually, this off-site storm drain runs through the apartment complex and then down along Westminster Street to the little crossing. And then there's a 3 or 4 foot, might be 3 feet there, pipe that goes down through the commercial area
Correct.
down. and then get-
Westchester Square,
Right,
that's
then get
correct.
down under 27 to the creek.
Yes.
So we have all that, we gotta work out yet. But the stormwater, you know, the driveways to add another 5 feet, so you have another 100 feet of stormwater to treat for each house. I mean, it adds up, as you know. And I believe in Manchester, like Arizona Way, they were 30 feet setback
That I don't know, I'm sorry.
on the Manchester farms.
I was just talking to Steve, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were.
At the last meeting, I remember they were 30 foot there.
Okay. But that's bigger zoning and they were less set. Right there.
There's only 7 that would have, only 7 that would not need a.
Should I talk about a topic real quick?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking it was. So that was, Robert, that property was R-15,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had 40-foot front yards. And this is R-10, which is the 35.
Right, but there was something,
Which is supposed to be.
we have to get the plan sheets out there, there was reduction in,
I don't remember.
We'd have to research that.
Yeah, I have to look at the plan, I have no idea. And I know when we've clustered developments, we have changed those setbacks too. Some of them have been 25 in some of the developments.
So the answer to my own question earlier is 7. There's only 7 lots that would
comply.
comply if you don't get to 30. There again, though, it's based on the largest porch.
A large unit.
Right.
yeah, a lot of times in Carroll County, people, they get a 2-story, they want the front porch. So you do a front porch on the 2-story, and then you do a sunroom, then we got the same problem. So a lot of people like the full front porches. That's not a hardship, but that's just the market driven.
What this? Sure.
I can tell you how I'm personally thinking about it is if the 30, if the 30 was allowed, I wouldn't feel like, the other ones could even be justified. If we're giving 31, if we're giving 31 fronts, then you shouldn't get the other ones, for the sides, on a 1-foot or a 2-foot or a 3-foot side. You could easily move that square footage back around behind it if you wanted to, because that's just a porch bump out. So, I mean, you have that opening on your layout. I don't know if you had that layout again, but you can easily move 4 foot of a house to the back of it. And get, if you're going for a similar square footage. So I personally wouldn't lean towards these 3s and 4s and 1s and maybe open discussion on these nines. Those nines, you're messed up either way, no matter what you do, but. And then even with giving the 30, and on the 9, I think you'd have to just limit that property to, I'm sorry, that would be one without a porch. Or go with a different design on that one. You know, my cousin, he builds 12,000 square foot houses for a living. His small plan's 9,000. I don't think I'd be able to approve that house on one of these lots. You know, it seems like you're trying to fit a size 12 shoe in a, a size 12 foot in a 10 shoe on some of these. You gotta get a bigger shoe. But I'm the non-builder here. That's just perception.
Okay. Currently, we have a concept plan in front of us. We do not have an actual application. So anything we do at this point is merely offering advice. We cannot take any action on it at this point in time. So if you want a definitive answer on how the board is going to consider either favorably or not favorably the reduction of the front side and rear setbacks, you're going to have to submit a plan. I mean, that's all the advice I can give you at this point.
Okay, I have one other issue, if I may. So at the end of Road B, we talked about having a cul-de-sac. So we had another discussion about whether it would be wise to perhaps make this a right turn only, an exit lane, if you would, onto Park Avenue. And we thought it might be prudent to bring it up in front of the board again. So that would give us, we still want to have some traffic calming on Road A so that, obviously, we don't want it to be a cut-through. But also having a right turn only also reduces some of the meander, if you would. Just wanted to get the board's feeling on the right turn out.
I think with the way the queues are sitting in the afternoon and sometimes in the morning, I think you need to look at that really hard. Okay, it's actually starting to get a little, it's back into the split.
Okay.
So that's pretty much where you're coming out.
Yeah,
Just
the
your,
Split's just below.
yeah.
The split's about
just
200
past your
feet.
Yeah.
Right, the split's about 200
Right.
feet.
So I think you're gonna need to look at some traffic and not just the statistical idea, but the actual sit there and watch it during the day.
Right.
It's becoming a speedway.
Okay. 4 to 6.
It-
4 to 6 in the evening in
Yeah.
particular.
So I'm trying to, or does that mean you would prefer?
I would like you to really look at the traffic and bring us a proposal.
Okay,
You and I are both from the other side of the hill,
right.
okay? That other side of the hill that we could ride our bikes on is not a bike riding hill anymore.
No, it is not. That it
And
is
it's only
not.
gonna, and as we discuss other things, as you've heard in the opening discussions, there's other things that come into play on that side of the hill.
Sure.
That are gonna only make it
Sure.
a lot more difficult, so.
All right, very good. Thank you. Robert, anything else?
As it
Thank
relates
you very much.
to-
Appreciate you
I
letting
do
us
have another
come in.
comment about that possible potential connection. During future submittals, please include a distance down to the intersection on your drawings.
Okay.
As well as a distance up to the church cut-through road.
Yeah, I have the overall plan, but I didn't really.
Just please
dwell
label
on
the
that
distance
tonight.
on there. It would be
Right.
helpful.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Okay. Riley's Garden, preliminary approval.
We have not done concept approval on this. And I correctly wrote down preliminary, but we have not done a
Oh,
concept yet.
okay.
Okay?
So it's concept, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I messed that up.
Sorry.
Good evening, Dan Staley with DRS. I think you should have a package with preliminary plan, record plats, road and storm drain plans, and water and sewer plans. Also, you should have a package of comment letters from the county and the town. We have had, I think your package should show that we have approval from all the agencies with the exception of stormwater management, which I just received a comment letter today. It's not an approval letter. There's a few items in there that we will have to address before we get his approval. The first one has to do with additional storage. I think that that is an incorrect comment, and I think the report we submitted has the right figures in it. And as you go down through what he calls the detail section, most of those are just mostly housekeeping, has to do with wording of notes and that sort of stuff. There is a comment under comment 4 concerning the infiltration rate of these trenches that we're putting throughout this subdivision. We did submit early on a geotechnical report. We had infiltration rates between 8 and 9 minutes an inch. The county stormwater manual only allows you to use a minimum of 0.52 to a maximum of 1.75. So the soils we found on site far exceeded what were allowed by the manual. We used the 1.75 to do our design. So again, I think, Martin Covington was not involved in the first couple reviews of this subdivision, so I think that's why he probably just missed it. And then the last comment that I think I understand what we need to do. Have you read that, Michelle? Comment 7 from Martin's letter?
Yes.
It has to do with where the easements go.
Yes.
And if I understand, back in March, John McGuire met with the town and the county, and from what I understand from that letter, that all the easements go to the county. That's not what Martin's telling us to do, but I think that's what,
The only easements that we have taken over are for our actual stormwater management ponds,
right.
because we
Right.
maintain those. But anything that we don't maintain, and they do the inspections, they've taken over these.
Right, well, in his letter, he says the dry wells that are on the lots go to the county, but the trenches that deal with the use and common driveway go to the town, but, so what I'm going to do, and I will submit back to him, I'm gonna give him a copy of John McGuire's March letter stating what the understanding is, and then if we have problems from there, I guess we'll get you involved again.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw on the plans that the homeowners are responsible for the infiltration ditches for operation and maintenance.
Yes, that is correct. What's going to happen, Steve, is that when we submit the legal package, our developer's attorney will prepare the declaration of maintenance obligation, and this is happening in the county right now. And in that document, there will be specific language concerning those trenches, who maintains them. We're going to try to put information in that document, tells them who they can contact, because again, Harry homeowner
Correct.
is clueless.
That's
You know,
correct.
he doesn't even know what he's looking at. So we're gonna tell him where he can go find the plans, who he can consult with when there's a problem. What he should do is just a very minor inspection. He should look at these things after a major storm, make sure there's, not erosion, those sort of things. We're gonna give him some information, hopefully that they will read.
Right.
And be able to manage these things that don't become a problem to it. Because as we've discussed before, no matter what you design, if they're not maintained, they just don't work, so. So anyways, with that being said, I guess I'll ask the commission if you have any questions, concerns as far as what's on the plans.
No, I know it's the way everybody's going. I don't care for those private easements that homeowners have to take care of. They don't get taken care of, period. They just do not. We're already seeing in Baltimore County. They've got all these little bioretention areas on lots, and they're just failing because nobody's taking care of them. So I'm just leery of those things, but it's on a private lot. I'm not sure what else to do. Bob, you have any suggestions on that?
I have experienced the same thing, that homeowners are not equipped to, either knowledge or financially to.
To
whoever
take care of them.
maintaining them. It is an option within the MDE manual, but I
Yeah.
don't.
That's the problem, it is an option.
Michelle, this is,
No, they don't. Dan, do you, our Director of Public Works had some more comments that he gave to me today. So I have them to hand to you,
Okay,
your copies, and they all have the copies so that you can address them in the future also.
all right.
Did you want to talk about that?
No, I just wanted to see it.
Oh,
I
I'm sorry.
didn't see it yet.
I'm sorry.
does our side setbacks and driveways have, is there anything that would prohibit this lot 3? So I see where the driveway, we're using a side setback. I haven't seen that before. And the rear, the front of the home faces what would be considered the side. And the driveway's coming into the side setback, not a front setback.
I had not seen anything laid out this way either, so I did make a couple calls, both to Price and I called Clay and Development Review. And, you know, technically, the front yard is where the front is. But on a private drive away from the road, the front yard would be towards their driveway or towards the Grafton Street. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. So I had a little concern with the way they were laid out on there also.
And are the rears right at 35? 35 is the rear.
Yep.
All right, I was thinking 40.
35 would be the rear.
Yeah, it's 25 front, 8 sides, and 35 rear. And that's all on that memo that I gave you a copy of too.
Is there any reason that it, can that, no, can, what type of houses are these? Single story, 2-story?
Boy, I'm clueless.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna be, Mark is gonna dictate that. I mean, again, I can tell you my own experience, what we typically stake these days are usually 2 stories, although one-level houses are getting to be more popular.
Yeah.
So what these will be when they hit the market, I couldn't tell you.
Well, the main thing I'm picking up on is you've got obviously, from the parking lot on number 3, you've got a sidewalk going into what looks like the front of the house, but that's not the front of the house. The front of the house is in the front, so,
Front of the house is facing the driveway.
huh?
Front of the house is actually facing the driveway. It's a setback, but this is just a setback. The front's over here.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So the front is on a side setback, and I guess that's,
If you're lucky, you've got 8 feet from the house to the property line. If you're lucky, from the back. And you're never gonna get a deck in there. You're never gonna even barely get landscaping in there to grow. You've got a driveway that's 22 maybe long and 20 foot wide. I think this is just another case where people are gonna be coming in for variances because of the way it's laid out, in order to put a deck, patio, a shed, anything in there.
if you flip that driveway and come in the front, is there any particular reasons why you can't? So have the driveway come in that front part?
I'm not sure if I follow you, what
And
you're
then-
asking.
You'd be a side-by garage, still have the same issues if you put the house over.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, if he brought that driveway in, at least you'd be coming in the driveway, not necessarily with a garage, but see, then the garage couldn't be there, yeah. All right, because of the setbacks, yeah.
Steve, in regards to these additional comments,
Just walked out.
I was sitting here reading them. I'll wait till he comes back.
This lot's all 7,500 square feet. Okay, he's back.
The additional public works comments that we have on the plan that we received today, was there anything there that you would consider be a showstopper?
No,
Okay.
no,
I didn't see anything that looked
no.
significant.
I know the director and I talked about this, this morning, and, nothing on there can't overcome.
Any other comment or concern?
I just want Mr. Staley to go over again, comment number 1 in the May 14th letter where they say you didn't adequately address their original comment. And you were saying you thought the county was incorrect in that?
Well, you're talking about stormwater letter?
Yeah.
Okay, in today's atmosphere in stormwater, there's about 4 different ways to determine volumes of storage to do what they call QP10, which is your stormwater management. There's 2 volumes, well, there's really 4 volumes. There's recharge volume you have to put back in the ground. There's water quality volume you have to address on a 1-inch storm. Then there's an ESD volume, environmental site design, and then the QP10, which is the overbank volume, which is typically what we've always referred to as stormwater management. In doing the stormwater management volume, you go back 20 years ago, we used to determine that through a government software called TR55, shortcut routing. Then when the new manual came in with what we're doing today, that started in 2001, had a revision to it in 2007. It was a different formula that came up with these volumes, but when we did the new formula and we looked at the old 55, those numbers were very, very close to one another. And I can tell you the new work is, it's convoluted, it's confusing, and there's not a lot of us that really understand it yet. Then, when you do this, the stormwater volume, there's 2 different methods, 2 different formulas you can use. I believe that, and one of them came out, the second formula came out in a guidance letter from MDE, I think in 2010. And you can do either or, it's like your choice. You don't have to do one over, it's not mandatory you do one over the other. We used the one that was in the original stormwater management to determine our volumes. Martin, if you look at his spreadsheet back on, I guess it's the last page of that letter. What it is, we have 2 drainage areas, and through the development process, the one area gets smaller, the other area gets
We did
bigger.
not, excuse me, we did not have those pages. It's
Oh,
not-
really?
No,
Oh,
I
I'm
think we just
sorry.
have the comments, so they don't.
Okay, well, he gave us his worksheet on them, and what happened was, through the development of the site, the one drainage area got larger and the other one got smaller. The one that got smaller, he's got no problem with, because he's saying we've overmanaged it. On the one that got bigger, he's saying we're missing 322 cubic feet of storage. The overall site, if you look at the plans, there is an ESD summary, there's a stormwater summary, and in those summary tables, we manage the entire site. Then, for my curiosity, on that same page, on the left-hand edge of the page, we give a drainage area summary. And this gets a little complicated here, but when you do stormwater volumes, you look at drainage areas within site boundaries to determine your volumes. it's not the way water functions on the ground. I like to look at a drainage area. So when we got done doing the ESD volumes, the stormwater volumes, we went back and did our own summary called the drainage area volume, just to see what had happened. Well, the same thing showed there. One area we were overmanaged, the other area we were undermanaged, but for the entire drainage area, for the entire site, we were still overmanaged. So I think, and what his chose here, when he's, in the calculation he gave us, was this formula that was done by this 2010 guidance letter. I don't think I have to do it. And I think the volumes we have meet what's in the manual. So that'll be just, well, I'm meeting with him tomorrow at 12:30, so that'll be a discussion we're gonna have and try to get over that. And once we get that one done, everything, like I said, everything else is pretty much housekeeping. Now, I can tell you, we did look at this additional volume. If we have to do it, if there's no way of talking this man out of it, we're gonna have to lower those trenches by about a foot to accommodate that additional volume. So,
which trenches are you over on and which trenches are you under on?
well, it's not trenches, it's drainage
Which
areas.
facility, which drainage area, which facility on the plan?
Okay, if you pull up the construction drawings. You look at, I think it's sheet 4. Nope, wrong. Look at sheet 5. Drainage area A is the one that we are overmanaged on. Drainage area B is the one that we are undermanaged, but the two together, we're still overmanaged for both A and B together. And our logic was, if you look at A, the low point in A is, and I don't have a parcel number, but it joins to a neighbor's backyard. If I'm gonna overmanage, there's the place I wanna do it. In B, if I'm not managed there, the water's gonna come down the driveway, fill the trenches, they're gonna overflow, go down to the subdivision road, go down Grafton Street, so. And again, we're talking about small numbers here, we're not talking about anything drastically here. And then, of course, in that same sheet, you'll see in the right-hand edge of the paper, environmental site design summary, and then stormwater management design summary. And if you look at, and the one that's probably the most you ought to focus on is the stormwater management summary. And at the very top of that summary table, you'll see required volume. You see a required PE and required volume. And then if you go to the bottom of that summary table, you'll see the volumes that we're storing there. And if you, of course, take those two numbers, I think it's 1039 and 1454, it's like 24 something, and we're storing 2519. So we slightly overmanaged for the site. And then on the left-hand edge of the page is this drainage area summary. Again, not required, but I was curious. And you see for the 10-year storm, in drainage area A, we overmanaged by 372 cubic feet. And then on the drainage area B, we undermanaged by 331 cubic feet. So again, the net is we've overmanaged.
So the MDE requirements are designed for impervious treatment within each one of your drainage basins. So the area that you're under-treating is the most of your impervious areas. You're over-treating the grass areas and under-treating the driveway.
Well, the MDE criteria is you come up with a volume based on,
Percentage of impervious for within your
well,
drainage area.
it's,
Correct.
yes and no. I mean, here again, well,
That's the
you use your drainage area times with this RV factor, which has to do with percent of impervious area, times your required PE. Okay, so,
But it's all based on the percentage of impervious within your drainage
Okay,
area. Each
okay, I won't argue that
drainage
with you.
area Based upon your soil types.
okay, but my concern is where does that water go?
Flows downhill, always
Well,
does.
I agree. But in A, it goes into someone's backyard, goes to a neighbor. In B, it drains to the street.
But the point, it's supposed to treat the impervious area. So the county is indeed correct that by under-treating B, you've under-treated those areas. You're gonna have to increase the volumes within B.
Well, that's not what I'm saying, though. If, based on the stormwater management summary and the formula that's in the state book, we've done that for both areas.
You need to treat each area.
I
drainage
maintain we
area
are.
To the maximum extent practical.
I think that we have.
I have to agree with the county on this one.
Well, again, if you look in the stormwater management summary, I give you all the data up there, the drainage area, the percent of impervious area, the RV. If you do the math, they're the volumes. And if you look at the required volumes versus the provided volumes, we're overmanaged in both drainage areas.
I agree with the county. I have to agree with the county. And if you need to revisit your drainage areas.
I think the important message here is tomorrow you're meeting with Mark, whatever Mark decides, he's got to do it.
So,
I tell you, the difference is between the two formulas. It's not between any mathematical errors that we've made. It's just one formula versus another formula is the only difference in these volumes that we're just talking about.
all right, gentlemen, I think we've had a lot of good information provided. I need a motion one way or the other to accept this concept approval or table it or disapprove it.
I believe that Lot 3 does not meet the intention of the setbacks.
Okay?
They need to take another look at the orientation of the driveway in order to better facilitate the siting of the house on Lot 3.
Okay?
I agree.
I make a motion to table this for now. I think there's outstanding comments that need to be addressed, and I think there are issues, sightings.
Okay? Motion on the floor to table this item until the comments are, that were placed are addressed. And may I say in your motion, the drainage issue with Lot 3 is addressed?
Drainage in
Drainage
accordance
area
with
B.
county and
Okay,
state
drainage area
criteria
B,
for
sorry.
stormwater management.
Okay. So the motion is to table this item until the appropriate comments are addressed and drainage area B is addressed based on the county comments.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion on the floor has been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We'll table it, so,
Could I ask a question?
sure.
On Lot 3, what is it you're looking for on Lot 3 as far as the orientation of the siting?
So, on Lot 3, you have what is your functional rear yard is only 8 feet. Any deck, patio, et cetera, is going to be at the property line or over the property line. Your driveway is approximately 22 or 23 feet, all the way to the edge of the common drive area to the front door as cited on this, and I know it's conceptual architecture, you don't have real architecture.
Right.
By 20 feet wide, which is a questionable length driveway for anyone that would park on there. It would appear, based upon the sizing of lots 2 and 3, that the common driveway could be rotated slightly to the north, kind of at the point where it becomes a T, allowing for a larger lot on Lot 3 as far as its north to south direction would be concerned, giving at least the ability to have 2 patio stones out there to put a grill on. Those are just observations. Looking for you to come back with a concept that provides a functional lot that's not going to result in, as soon as the building permit's filed, a request of BZA for relief from setbacks.
Understood.
I mean, you may even have problems with your building code related to openings along that wall in relationship to the property line. Fire code only lets you get so much opening depending on your distance to the property line, so at 8 feet, you may be pushing up against that with the rear of a house that would have windows, sliders, et cetera. Something to think about.
Okay, thanks for the heads up.
Thank you.
Helen, you had Director of Public Works comments for him also?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I just kind of talked to her. These are the comments. This is one of the things that we saw on the plan too, and I just wrote on the top for you, okay? And Riley's still on.
Okay, move on. Is there any public comment? Anyone wish to address the commission? Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
Nope, I just wish everybody a happy Memorial Day,
Thank you.
and people come out and vote tomorrow, please. It's important.
Michelle, I will not be available for the June 18th meeting.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that this meeting be adjourned.
All those in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Good night.